Hey guys, welcome back to another patch analysis. Today I'll be going over patch 11.2. This patch doesn't have anything too important for mid lane, but there are some very important changes regarding other roles, mostly tanks and support. There are some mid lane changes. I'll go over them a little bit too. Actually, this one's pretty big. AKALI Q. So the cost is much higher now to caster Q. So 3 casts of Q would have usually costed 240, but now it costs 300, so that's a pretty big nerf. So hopefully we'll be seeing less AKALI. Personally, not the biggest fan of AKALI, both playing and being against it. So AKALI nerf, probably going to hit the lower elos pretty hard. People that are really good at AKALI will still play her, but this is pretty significant, especially for laning and just even dueling later on. Azir Q cooldown decreased by a little bit, just 1 second flat. I mean, it's nice, I guess. It's more of a late game buff than anything. 1 second, 15 to 14 doesn't really do anything. Let me just skim over to all the mid lane stuff before we move on to other stuff. Health growth and less mana cost on her Q. This doesn't make her like super viable in pro play, but I mean it's nice. I think LeBlanc players should be kind of happy with taking this. Nocturne Q, 2 second base reduction. That's pretty big. For both jungle and maybe mid lane, we might start seeing some Nocturne mid. I hope not, but it's pretty nice for Nocturne if anyone plays Nocturne. Okay, Zoe. She has new items that she can pick up from her W. Before it's just like Redemption, Proto Belt, Everfrost, but now they added Randuin's, Locket, Turbo Chem Tank, the little speed thingy, Shirelius, which is also a speed thing, and Yomu's Ghostblade, Gore Drinker, Stridebaker, and Prowler's Claw. So yeah, she has more options, and she no longer can pick up Redemption. So yeah, that's it for mid lane, honestly. Oh, a little bit of a nerf for this. What do you call it? The Rocket Belt, it gives less move speed. It was 50% for 2 seconds, now it's 30% for 1.5 seconds. So pretty significant nerf. So not bad. And then Gale Force is probably the biggest change. 60-second cooldown to 90-second cooldown. If you guys are keeping up with pro play at all, you'll know that Gale Force is literally the go-to item for basically every ADC, and in some cases mid laners such as Lucian and Yone. So yeah, I mean this item is still really strong. You just can't spam it as much. Also, mandate change, pretty important. So what happens with mandate now is they're trying to shift it to being basically exclusively a support item. So the important thing you have to know is that it goes on cooldown when you slow it, so you can only proc it once. So let's say you're ASO, you have Rivalized Mandate. You slow someone, you can't apply the mandate damage for another 2 seconds. When before it'd be you could reapply it over and over until someone like actually procs the mark. So yeah, Kraken Slayer, quite the menace of an item right now. So these champions, Urgot, Katarina, and Aphelios, they all have abilities which make them like machine gun on hit effects, right? Like he has his Q, Katarina has ulti, Urgot has his W. So now instead of doing 100 true damage, it's gonna do the reduced true damage, which is probably like 33% of the actual thing. So it's gonna do like 33 true damage instead of 100. So big Katarina nerf. God freaking bless, man. I hate playing versus Katarina, especially with this item. So now it's gonna be a lot weaker. Okay. Also Ravenous nerf, 1.7% per stack instead of 2%. So like late game, it's a lot weaker. Like normally you'd have 11%. Now you can only get 9.5% at max stacks. Okay. That's basically all the mid lane stuff. So we'll go over some other stuff now. Mostly items. They changed the tank items a little bit. And also marksman items. This is just buffs for these 2 items. 5% more attack speed for PD and Runan's. Cost is the same. So these items are a little bit stronger now for all you ADC mains out there. Lethality changes, and this one. This one actually kind of feels kind of bad because they just reduced the health by 50 by making it 100 gold cheaper. I honestly don't really like that. But for Serpent Fang and Umberglaive, they get 200 gold cheaper. They lose some damage for it, but they're more accessible. So I actually like this. These two are cheaper now, so I think that's a good change. So I think those items are pretty good. Okay, and they changed a whole bunch of tank items. Honestly, I'm not a big expert on the tank items, but I think the big one is Turbo Chem Tank. This is a item that gives you move speed. If you guys remember Righteous Glory, this is basically that, except it's called Turbo Chem Tank. You just speed towards the enemies. So it's 400 gold cheaper. It gives some less stats in terms of defense, but it gives more ability haste. And then they also changed the mythic passive from tenacity and slow resist to ability haste, and they did the opposite for Sunfire. They actually gave it tenacity and slow resist instead of ability haste. Frozen Gauntlet, a little bit more ability, has less armor. So yeah, I mean, they just shifted it, made the items cheaper. I'm not too sure what to think about these, honestly. I mean, they get their mythics earlier, which I guess is nice. So yeah, Gargoyle Stone Plate, big buff to this item. You get 25% more armor and MR instead of 15%. So yeah, pretty good tank item now. This, they changed from being a tank item to an AP plus somewhat tanky item. It gives 40 AP now, gives mana regen. Less health, but it gives 40 AP, so that's kind of nice. Essence Reaver, so this change, essentially, it means like you don't have to have a lot of max mana to utilize Essence Reaver anymore. All you need is bonus AD, and you get a lot more mana. So let's say you had like 500 mana, you wouldn't get 15 mana back. You'd get a lot more, like probably like 40 mana back, because you would ideally have a lot of more AD, right? So pretty good. Slight buffs to Varus, just utility early game. A little bit more mana, lower cooldown on the R. Trundle, flat buff. This is for jungle and probably top lane. Like, he gets 5% more damage and 10% more attack speed, so kind of nice. Soraka, actually, this is actually kind of important. Her healing is kind of insane now. Like, look at this, 10 more base, and ratio is increased by 10%. I guess she doesn't build that much AP, so it's not that broken, but this is also pretty big too here. This Q Rejuvenation also applies on your allies when you cast W on them after hitting a Q. So, I mean, her healing is just all around a lot stronger. Some Shaco damage buffs. Chase is going to be happy about this one, maybe. Or he's going to complain. Who knows? More damage for Shaco, I guess. Oh, this is also important too. Support. So, I mean, I told you guys earlier in the patch analysis video, the start of the video, that it's not too much mid lane focus stuff. It's mostly just support and jungle. So, yeah. So yeah, 10% more damage ratio, and you get 8 gold from a soul instead of 3, so that's pretty nice. Her econ is pretty nice, and then the chance of souls dropping as a support goes up, so they're trying to make her more into a support. Okay, Aatrox and Olaf, these champions both use Gore Drinker, and they're trying to change how they heal based on Gore Drinker. So healing amplification, right? I mean, this is mostly just to target Gore Drinker, so you don't just run into 5 people, get 100, you get to 10% health, press one button, and you're back at 100%. So they're trying to make it so they heal based on their auto attacks and abilities rather than just the Gore Drinker active. Same thing with Aatrox, like the healing from his ulti is down, but he heals more from his actual abilities. So just Gore Drinker nerfs. Nunu just gets nerfed for not too much of a reason. Honestly, I take it. I hate this champion, so yeah, less health, less move speed. We take those. Maokai support. Okay, so more mana cost, and it does a little bit less damage. Not too significant though. Like, Maokai's still the same champion. Ivor and shield ratio nerf doesn't really do too much. He's still the same champion. Elise Q nerf. I like this actually. I don't like playing versus Elise. Just 20 less damage on his Q, so just does a little bit less damage. Doesn't make her unplayable, but it's pretty significant. Mundo buffs. More sustain in lane. You get more health refund on kills and hits, and then a little bit more damage and a little bit more healing. 10% more flat on his ulti. I don't think he'll become meta though. Like, his kit is pretty outdated for season 11. Like, he doesn't have any stuns. All he has is like a slow and a heal. So I don't think he'll be that great. A little bit of a Darius damage nerf. Doesn't really matter too much. He's still the same champion. Like, if you go to a Darius and he gets 6 stacks on you and he ults you, you're still gonna die. Caitlyn buff. This is pretty significant actually. 0.42 extra AD per level. So not too bad. We already went over Azir and AKALI. Viego's coming out. I don't know too much about Viego. Maybe I'll test him out eventually. Seems pretty fun though. Anyways, that is all for patch 11.2 notes. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll probably release something about Viego later on in the week or something once he's playable. But yeah, not too many mid lane changes, a lot of item changes, and a lot of support jungle changes, plus tank. So yeah, mid lane pretty unimpacted aside from like Azir, LeBlanc, and AKALI. AKALI's just kind of weak, especially in unskilled hands. So hopefully you guys will have an easier time versus AKALI's in your rank games. Anyways, thank you guys all very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.